Hi, it's Dwyer, gamblersadvisory.com. Here to talk about a fascinating fight that was announced this week. It's the third fight between Manny Pacquiao, perhaps boxing's biggest name, and Juan Manuel Marquez. Now, before I go further, just remember the opinion you should follow should be your own. Just consider this video to be a second opinion from a complete stranger online. We can all thank Joe Cortez for this trilogy. Uh, Arguably, the biggest moment in this trilogy came with about 40 seconds left in the first round of the first fight. By then, Manny Pacquiao, and this was the 2004 fight, had knocked down Juan Manuel Marquez twice. He gets Marquez over by the ropes, he knocks him down a third time. Don't kid yourself. Marquez is so hurt on the canvas. I mean, he's so hurt that he leans back on the canvas, both of his shoulders touching the canvas. He actually puts his gloves up to his eyes while he's on the canvas. He's not talking to the ref. He's not looking at the ref. What he is a fighter who's been knocked down two times, who is trying to gather his thoughts. His bell has been rung. Now, incredibly, Joe Cortez, who easily could have waved off the fight. The Pacquiao Express would have continued on. No one would have questioned the stoppage. Joe Cortez actually did something that he doesn't do much of these days. He actually allowed the fight to continue, right? Marquez gets up, looks like he's unsteady. Cortez's facial expression says it all. He took a chance, and for that, I am forever grateful. Because over the next 11 rounds of that fight, I believe that Juan Manuel Marquez pitched a masterpiece. It was like watching Godfather Part 1 for the first time. It is a masterpiece, a clinic that could easily have been labeled How to Throw a Counter Right Hand, right? I thought he dominates Manny Pacquiao as only a skilled future Hall of Fame technician can. I thought Marquez won that first fight, but don't listen to me. Let's do the math. If that first round is deemed a 10-7 round for Manny Pacquiao, you need to ask yourself how Marquez, on average, according to the judges who scored that fight a draw, somehow had, on average, a 3-round advantage on each judge's scorecard, right? 7-4 for those doing the math for the remaining 11 rounds. And keep in mind, this is after getting dropped 3 times. I thought he completely and masterfully deconstructed Manny Pacquiao. I thought he solved the Pacquiao puzzle. Let me just say that Emmanuel Stewart describes the solution best with about a minute left at the end of the ninth round of that first fight. Stewart points out that Pacquiao, who has fought an inordinate amount of left-hand dominant fighters, right? Cotto, Oscar De La Hoya, several others. Stewart points out that Pacquiao, after he finishes an ambush, is vulnerable to a right counter. He literally is right here. He bounces outside and he is right there ready to get hit by a right counter. And so what you're going to notice as you deconstruct the film of that first fight is after Manny Pacquiao ambushes, Marquez routinely and systematically is able to hit him with clean right counters. It's such a clinic that he actually busts up Manny Pacquiao's eyes. Now, let me just say this. I know that there's been a lot of marketing and a lot has been said about Manny Pacquiao's evolution as a fighter. In my opinion, looking at the film of that first fight and looking at Manny Pacquiao's fights, every fight, um, I do not believe that Manny Pacquiao has changed one bit from that first fight against Juan Manuel Marquez. Right? The only change I see is Manny Pacquiao probably moves a little bit less than he used to move when he was a younger man in 2004. But Manny Pacquiao is still the same fighter. He's still right there for the right counter after he throws an ambush. It's very hard for an opponent to stay in the pocket against Manny Pacquiao because Pacquiao, more importantly than his punching power, Manny Pacquiao has a presence in the ring. It's what NFL linebacker Ray Lewis talks about. It's a presence. Manny Pacquiao gets guys to back up. His speed is off the page. The guys he is fighting are shell shocked. They've never encountered speed like this. And Manny Pacquiao is able to fold into that speed, a very heavy left hand. And keep in mind, Manny Pacquiao, while he doesn't land a lot of jabs, Manny Pacquiao lands a lot of power punches, right? Marquez somehow is that rare fighter who, against Manny Pacquiao, is able to stay in the pocket. He's able to deal with Pacquiao's presence, and he's able to fire straight right hands to slow Manny Pacquiao down. It's not the jabs that really get the job done, it's the straight right hands. Another thing, too, that Marquez does excellently is he knocks down Manny Pacquiao's jab. He does that, by the way, from the first round. Manny Pacquiao throws a jab for timing. Marquez knocks it down. But just like Pacquiao is there for the straight right hand, Marquez is there for the straight left. And so it's a fascinating fight. I thought Marquez won that first fight. Let's talk briefly about the second fight. Understand that Manny Pacquiao threw more than 1,060 punches against Antonio Margarito in the fight before last. He is a very high volume fighter, so much so that boxing commentator Al Bernstein online, on here on YouTube, made a video predicting that Pacquiao beats Floyd Mayweather because of his volume. The argument is that Floyd isn't going to land as many punches as Manny Pacquiao. All I can say, though, is Exhibit A of a rebuttal to that argument is the second fight against Juan Manuel Marquez. It might shock some people that not only did Pacquiao only throw 619 punches in the fight, in other words, he threw more than 400 less punches than the Marquez fight. He threw more than 100 less punches than the last fight, Shane Mosley. But it might surprise and stun people to learn that if you look at the CompuBox numbers, he was actually outlanded in the fight. Marquez not only slowed Manny Pacquiao down, Marquez outlanded him, and Marquez did so at a higher percentage, right? Literally landed more punches than Manny Pacquiao. Let's talk about the scoring of the fight. Even with Marquez getting dropped once in the third round of that fight, understand that one of the three judges had Marquez winning the fight by 3 rounds. That's a 5 round swing. If that third round is a 10-8, think about it. That one judge who has Marquez winning by 3 rounds literally believes that over the remaining 11 rounds of that fight, Marquez had a 5 round advantage, right? Sadly for Marquez, the judge that decided it, one judge had Pacquiao winning by 3 rounds, and keep in mind, even that judge, if you make the third round a 10-8 round, then he only has Pacquiao winning one more round than Marquez for the remainder of the fight. And that's the most pro Manny judge. The last judge who decided it had Manny Pacquiao winning that fight 114 to 113. Can you say skin of your teeth? Can you say razor close decision? That's exactly what that rematch was. Razor close. If you go by the CompuBox numbers, an argument can be made that Marquez got robbed. I can tell you I looked at that second fight, and I thought Marquez won that fight too. His punches are much crisper. Not only does he land more of them, but his punches are much crisper. They're much more effective. And here again, he banged up Manny Pacquiao's eye. Right? That straight right hand hit Pacquiao with regularity. Now, let's talk about this third fight. Understand this third fight is an optical illusion. First, let me point out the obvious. The first fight was at 126. The second fight was at 130. Now, we've heard a lot, every Pacquiao weigh-in these days, we get hit with the narrative that Manny Pacquiao has to eat a lot of meat, he has to eat a lot of meals to get to 144 pounds, right? We hear that every weigh-in. But let me tell you, Manny Pacquiao does not want to fight Juan Manuel Marquez at 135. He wants to fight Marquez at 144 pounds. Let me tell you the problem with that. Marquez, his entire career, has only fought one time above 135 pounds. He's a dominant lightweight. He doesn't do well above lightweight. Let me also tell you the problem. In that fight against Floyd Mayweather, Marquez weighed 142 and was so outgunned that two of the three judges had Marquez losing that fight by 10 rounds or more. The third judge, the judge most sympathetic to Marquez, had Marquez losing that fight by 9 rounds. Right? Marquez has not shown any efficiency or effectiveness above 135 pounds. If this fight were at 135, I'd probably take Marquez. Unfortunately, this fight's at 144, where Marquez is simply not as effective. Let's also talk, too, about the age dynamic in this fight. Understand, the first fight was in 2004. For those doing the math, that was 7 years ago. Let's go further. 7 years ago in boxing is an eternity. Do any of us know who the light heavyweight champ was in 2004 or who the welterweight champ was in 2004? This sport is a young man's game that moves quickly. Many fighters who were active in 2004 are long outside of the sport, right? Let's go further. The second fight was 2008. Even that fight was 3 years ago, right? And understand that fight was so long ago that Pacquiao, who has been fighting, welterweights at 147 and who gained weight to 150 to win the 154 crown against Margarito, actually fought that second fight at 130 pounds. That second fight was before Pacquiao's fight against David Diaz. It was so long ago. Understand, too, and this is a matter of public record, I believe Marquez is slowing down, so much so that for his last fight against Michael Casitas, I made a video before that fight took place in which I picked Casitas to win the fight. That video is still up on YouTube. You can, check it out yourself. And in that fight, Michael Casitas knocked down Juan Manuel Marquez. He was on the canvas hurt in that fight. It was not a flash knockdown. Fortunately for Marquez, he did something I did not expect. He got off the canvas and he actually went on to dominate that fight and to win that fight. I congratulate him. I was wrong on that video. But understand my concerns about Marquez's hand speed, and he is now 38, or rather he will be 38 years old at the time of this Manny Pacquiao fight. 38 at a weight at which he's unaccustomed, right? With declining hand speed, I think that's a bad combination. So, to sum up, even though I thought Marquez won the first two fights, if I had to make one pick here, I would take Manny Pacquiao to win this third fight. Marquez can't handle 144. He's slowing down. Manny Pacquiao at 32 is still in his prime. Pacquiao is such an overwhelming favorite, or has been in past fights, this fight might not be bettable. If I was to do a straddle, I don't think Marquez can knock out Manny Pacquiao. My straddle would be Marquez by decision. But make no mistake, if I had to make one bet, I would take the 32-year-old Manny Pacquiao over the 38-pound Marquez at 144. You can throw this out the window if the fight is announced at 140.